What's up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NeoVintage podcast. I'm Jabril, and I'm with
Steve. Hope everyone's doing well out there.
And for you guys who have never seen the show before, we're just two guys that like to talk over the biggest stories in gaming. And today, we're finally back. It's been a big break. I moved across the freaking country, and now we're here.
Yeah.
So forgive my setup. I'm sorry it's bunk, but we're going to figure something out. It's going to get a little nicer. We're going to get a little bit on the walls behind me, so it won't look like I'm in a freaking asylum. So, Steve, how you doing?
I've been doing well, I've been keeping, in touch with you. See, you jumped from coast to coast.
Yeah.
But, it's good to be back on here.
Definitely, and forgive me, guys. I haven't been paying as much attention to the video game stories as much as possible, so I know there's things that probably happened during our break that I have no clue about, and hopefully, as we continue with these next few episodes, we might bounce into one of those topics, and maybe Steve can fill me in or something like that. So we're going to start with what we've been playing like we always do, but obviously I haven't been playing nothing. But Steve, have you played anything?
So just a little bit of stuff. I've been kind of preparing or kind of waiting for May. May's going to be kind of like a start of things between, Resident Evil Village. You got the Mass Effect trilogy coming. Returnal came out, which I did finally purchase. I went to go purchase it physical. Apparently it's like this big issue for some reason. Luckily Amazon got it, so it should be coming in today as of recording, so this Sunday. So I'll have thoughts on that stuff next week. But yeah, just been playing other little things, some throwbacks, I guess. Obviously the Mortal Kombat movie came out a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, so hyped and enjoyed the movie. I obviously went and played Mortal Kombat 9. I went to go play that one, which is pretty much one of my favorite Mortal Kombat games, especially replaying it now. I just remember how it's really when like NetherRealm switched their style of like storytelling and actually caring a little bit more about canon and characters and some development stuff. So it was really fun like that. So I've just been playing through Mortal Kombat 9, 10, or 9X and 11, whatever, however they want to label it. Just kind of familiarizing myself with all the Mortal Kombat stuff, some of the characters I've missed, and just different aspects of each game. Each one plays so differently, but MK9 still is just top notch. I think it's, out of this new timeline trilogy, I think it still stands the strongest. Obviously, the meta game of the other two with the customizable stuff people really love. I just like that simple, each character, with whether I'm playing Scorpion, you're playing Scorpion, we're playing the same Scorpion, which you lose in Mortal Kombat X and 11. And it just makes it a little complicated, and I don't know, just switches it to something I feel like it shouldn't. But I still love those other two games as well a lot. So that's all I've really been playing, is just kind of dabbling in that fighting community. I've done a little bit of Street Fighter. They released a new character. I think Rose was the one she came out with. Very little bit I played of that. The only other game I played, which was on your recommendation 2 weeks ago, before I left on vacation, which is why we missed an episode then, Outriders. I have played, I wouldn't say a lot of it. I feel like I've done pretty much the intro section of it. One thing I do like, the game doesn't take a long time to get going, give you your abilities, and show you what your moment-to-moment gameplay is. I haven't played too much. I did a little bit on stream. I did one time before that, just off stream, and really solid. I'm really liking it. It's really hitting that itch that I used to kind of get from Destiny, and I used to get actually from more of the Division, with the way it's all opened and set. I do like that. Unlike the Division, which has quick travel for some points, you don't have to really walk everything. Once I complete a mission, I can kind of just go back to the home base with the flag points and systems like that. And everything you said was solid. It's a solid controls and solid shooters. Obviously, I've been playing more of the later patched version, which is, some people said there were some issues at launch besides the connectivity. I've had some glitches, like that first monster at the beginning of the game. I think before you have your powers, he was like floating for me. He was like above me. Eventually the frames shifted back and he was brought back down. But besides that, it's a fun game. Obviously playing it on Game Pass, I feel less uncomfortable, I guess less bad that I didn't support them. I'd love to support them, but I do feel less bad that once all these other games come out in May, I won't be playing Outriders as much. Maybe I will. Maybe when we all start jumping on, and once you get your all your equipment and your systems and stuff like that, we can maybe jump on and play, because that's a big part of it, that social aspect of of Outriders is something I'm kind of missing because I'm kind of just rolling solo in it. But yeah, so that's all I've been playing. Just kind of keeping eyes set forward on some of these newer games and newer releases that should be out soon, any moment.
Yeah, I did have one question. So you mentioned Mortal Kombat. So in Mortal Kombat 9 specifically, I'm trying to remember which one's which. That's the self-titled one, right? It's just Mortal Kombat?
Correct.
Got you. Okay. Now, I remember that one. I really did like that one. I was just, because I was trying to remember. I'm like, I don't remember anyone explicitly having 9 in the title, but I was just like, I'm pretty sure that's the self-titled one. All right, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I love that one. I did see the movie too.
Yeah. What'd you think of it, real quick?
It's tricky. I never envisioned. I don't necessarily know if it's possible for me to be like, wow, they absolutely 1,000% nailed it. That's perfect. I didn't ever think that was going to happen. There are a lot of things I really liked about it. There are things that I didn't love so much about it. I'm still a little conflicted about them basically. With this such a robust cast, I don't necessarily know why they went out of their way to create a new, original character. From what I understand,
Yeah.
he's not in any of the games, right? And his power set, I guess is what you can call it, wasn't my favorite thing in the world. And I'm like, if you're going to go original, like go original, offer something completely new that we've never seen before. And it seemed like a fairly tame power set in comparison to what everybody else was doing, what freaking Kano was doing and everything like that. And then he gets a nice little outfit. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then for a little bit, I was just confused because I was like, who is this guy? And I was looking, I like pulled up the games. I'm like, I do not remember this guy. So yeah, there was things I liked about it. There's some moments of acting that I really loved from some of the performances, specifically the guy who plays Scorpion. I loved him. Didn't love the main character's acting at times. I understand he has more of like an MMA background, so in some of the more combat scenes, that's probably where he shines. But so there's a lot to like. Some things I didn't love, but overall, I think it was enjoyable for sure.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah, it hasn't necessarily broken the video game adaptation curse, not necessarily, but I've seen some people who are like, that's complete trash. I disagree with that. I think there are absolutely redeeming qualities to this. Hey, by the end, and no spoilers, it left me wanting to see their full vision, because for anybody who hasn't seen it, a lot of the biggest part of what Mortal Kombat is doesn't actually even happen in the movie. It's a lot of setup. So I'm hoping that they can get to see their full vision. I hope they don't have to like Snyder us, because they were building towards quite a bit there, and I really want to see that the proper tournament go underway. But we're a couple years off from now, I would imagine. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if we get more of that stuff. And I'm actually excited for what NetherRealm is doing. Actually, more on the gaming side. It's a lot of small rumors percolating. That they're obviously making another game. It's been 2-3 years now since Mortal Kombat 11, so we should hopefully hear something soon.
Well, if they're gearing up for another game, they're moving pretty fast by just fighting game and Mortal Kombat standards, because those weren't super fast turnaround. No.
They always are long apart, and there's always an interstitial game. Usually they stick an Injustice in between, but we'll have to.
Oh, now you're talking.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to. The small rumor, and I guess we'll do it before we jump to the story, is that they are in works, or they're in talks for a Marvel fighting game.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Rise of the Imperfects 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
Yikes! You remember that one?
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. Usually Capcom has the licensing for them to do the fighting game, so we'll I don't know. We'll have to see where they go.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. But stuff we're not excited for is actually this first story. Beloved company developer Toys for Bob is now working on Call of Duty. Toys for Bob, the developer of Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, game we all pretty much loved, has been assigned to support the development of Call of Duty Warzone and seems to have suffered layoffs as a result. The studio, which was acquired by Activision in 2005, announced the news on Twitter, saying Toys for Bob is proud to support development of Season 3 of Call of Duty Warzone and look forward to more to come. Activision Blizzard has shared a statement on IGN denying that the company had undergone layoffs. There has not been a reduction in personnel recently at the studios, said a company spokesman. Development team is operating fully and has a number of full-time job openings at this time. The studio is excited to continue supporting Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and more recently provide additional development support to Call of Duty Warzone. So this sucks in many aspects. A lot of people are worried that Toys for Bob won't be creating the game. I do think that is true. This pretty much means almost every Activision team, besides specifically Blizzard, is now working on Call of Duty, which that sucks. Apparently, the new Call of Duty that's going to be released this year, I forgot what the leaked name is, but it's apparently suffering a lot of issues, and there is apparently a lot of people from the job openings that have randomly come up at Toys for Bob and Activision Blizzard. People are leaving the team and stuff like that, because obviously if you want to make platformers and stuff like that and then you're shoved to be making Warzone and I don't know balances, that really I don't even see how much constant development you need for Warzone. But this really sucks, because I actually really did like Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. I think it was one of the best games of last year. I don't remember if I put it on my list or it was my honorable mention and stuff like that, but I thought it really was exciting to see Crash Bandicoot come back and not just have a good game, but really exceed and have a great game. I think that's it's one of the best Crash Bandicoot games. So it does suck to see that Toys for Bob is now just sort of chained to this Activision Call of Duty cycle. It's the same thing we had, that same issue with Raven Software when a long time ago they made that Wolverine game, which was pretty great, and then they get sucked in, and now it's just kind of a terrible thing. This is the same. We had the same sort of issue with the guys who made the Tony Hawk games.
Yeah, Vicarious Vision.
Yeah, that we're now being sucked into this Call of Duty thing. And I get the money that Call of Duty makes. I get the money that Warzone makes. But now you're just becoming a very, very stale company. Which, I mean, Call of Duty would only get you so far for so much longer. Which, it sucks. But I mean, I just hope this isn't a permanent thing. I feel like it is. But what did you think of this?
Yeah, I think I kind of looked at this as just kind of continuing a trend that we have seen for a bit now. Specifically, and you mentioned them, Vicarious Visions, and you remember they were merged into Blizzard. And so we're starting to see these kind of massive, as these massive kind of first-party games grow in scope. Sometimes when things go wrong, they need all hands on deck. So unfortunately, some of these teams have to be pulled into projects that they really have no business working on. They have specialties elsewhere. They have their own really successful IP, and it's one of those trade-offs sometimes maybe Activision has to make from a business sense. And I don't like it because, again, Toys for Bob, incredibly talented team. I loved Crash 4, and I mean, to me, they did damn near the impossible, because if you would have told me that in 2020 they'd be able to deliver a worthy sequel to that classic trilogy, I would have been like, there's not a chance in hell they're able to do that. But they did that. All those years later, they obviously did their homework, and they made something really, really solid that not only captured the spirit of the original, but introduced new mechanics successfully, which, I mean, ask how many developers have tried to do that. And just for them to get roped into Call of Duty is obviously unfortunate. I like Call of Duty, but I understand anybody who's been paying attention has seen the scope of Call of Duty somehow continue to balloon over these past few years. Call of Duty was always a massive deal, but it's one of those things that not only prints money no matter what, but I would imagine absorbs a vast amount of their resources over at Activision. And so it's one of those things where, as much as they love the Crash 4s and stuff like that, they need to make sure their darling is taken care of first and foremost, because I would love to see a budget breakdown of how much of their budget that comes in on an annual basis is just Call of Duty stuff, because I would pretty much bet that it's a good chunk of it. It's just a consistent flow of money, and despite everybody's expectation for Call of Duty to fall off a cliff one year, it's certainly had its lulls, but I think Warzone definitely puts a little bit more wind in their sails for sure. And so for them to not only have to actively support Warzone with its constant drops and adding content to it, on top of that, they have to develop a full-scale Call of Duty game, which is obviously no small feat. We've seen things happen with like Black Ops and stuff like that it's not easy to deliver these, because these have their own multiplayer suites, their own zombie modes, and their own campaigns. And keep in mind all the issues that the Black Ops Cold War had with the new hardware. So obviously, even a team like that can have issues developing a title like that for new consoles and stuff like that. There's a lot to consider here. And so I'm not necessarily surprised that Activision, on kind of just a business level, is basically like, no, if there's one game we need to get right, it's this one. And so we don't matter. It doesn't matter if we pull off everybody, all hands on deck. I don't know what Toys for Bob is supposed to offer. Not obviously they're incredibly talented, but what they do is so different than what Call of Duty is. I don't necessarily know what they can do, but I suppose good developers are good developers, and they can end up in a background role and support role no matter where they are. But yeah, it's basically the same opinion I had with the Vicarious Visions thing. I just think it's a waste, to be honest with you. I think their talents are best used elsewhere, and I think let Call of Duty be Call of Duty. And I know this is probably hearsay or heresy to Activision. Just delay it if it needs to be. I know they're really hard on that annual release format. I mean, so was Ubisoft at one point. But sometimes I feel like keeping your robust suite of offerings, allowing Toys for Bob to continue working on Crash or Crash type games, and just delay Call of Duty and give it as much time as it needs, I think is ultimately probably going to be the best decision for all parties involved. But I mean, obviously, talking about to a multi-billion-dollar corporation, talking them to hold off on their checks is never going to happen. So I understand the story, but it's saddening at the same time, because I just hate when I see super talented teams get absorbed into these giant corporations and forced to work on things they don't want to work on, because unfortunately we see it over and over again.
Yeah, and you think with the success that is Warzone, and they're making probably tons of microtransactions in that game, you think they would be more willing to delay the main Call of Duty now just a little bit, especially in the year that we're going to be getting a new Battlefield this fall. You think they'd finally be like, well, we have Warzone that will probably stand against it pretty well. And just Activision has just so many IP that they could. I wish, Toys for Bob is a smaller company, I guess, compared to what they have. But it's give them some of these other titles that people have been asking for. There was that big rumor that there's a Spiral 4 in the making. Somebody has to be making it. We're not really sure where it is. It's probably canceled now, but it's unfortunate to see. So, my best of luck and hopes for Toys for Bob that they don't just get stuck on, map pack duty and stuff like that.
And that's the problem with these kind of constant franchises, is that as long as they bring results, the companies are going to do everything they can to produce content for it. And so I feel like everything else at Activision will almost take a hit so long as Warzone remains what it is. And it doesn't look like it's going to be going anywhere for a while. All these kind of games and services have fail points, but I think they're fairly early in the life cycle. So if you can kind of work your way past that and keep a fan base, you're good to go. And Warzone is this kind of consistent, persistent game presence. But if I were Activision, I'd use that to buy us more time. The fact that Warzone's forever there, so there's always Call of Duty for somebody who wants it. New Call of Duty, here's a new drop, here's a new map we added. I have never played Warzone, so I'm not going to act like I know what's going on in there. But whatever they add in there, I'm sure there's plenty of different cosmetic things you can do in there. The same way Fortnite does. And then allow Call of Duty to be these bigger events that I think, personally, they should treat closer to the way Assassin's Creed is treated now. That used to be annualized. There's reasons to move away from that format, but obviously they're just making too much money. And so long as people are buying it, why slow it down, I guess, is the question. Yeah. So it's disappointing. I hope that this is not a long-term situation. I hope this is just a support thing to get this game out, and then they can go right back to what they were working on before, because I worry about teams like this sometimes that are able to do things at really, really high levels that few people in the industry are able to actually do. That don't necessarily print money in the same way that these Fortnites and these Warzones do, if that makes any sense. So the people like the Vicarious Visions and the Toys for Bobs, the Yacht Club games, these type of teams I worry about sometimes, because when I start seeing absorption for these type of teams, I'm like, listen, there's a void you're creating in the game industry by their absence. And even if it's just, hey, we only need you for 6 months, that's 6 months of a team that there's no carbon copy of. There's no other team that I can point to that say, well, they can do that too. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of them that can make really good classic mascot platformers on the level that they do. And so don't hold them up too much, Activision, please. I'm begging you.
Yeah, I hope the same.
All right, so I guess we can move on to the second story here, and finally, where I guess we're going back to CD Projekt Red. We had basically back-to-back shows back in the day when Cyberpunk first came out about what was going on over there. And we got a bit of an update here, and we always get kind of trickle-fed stuff about Cyberpunk here and there. There was a recent thing that they only had to issue apparently $30,000 worth of refunds, but obviously they took a massive hit, I would imagine, when it got delisted from PlayStation. That, from my understanding, has still not been relisted, which is insane. So it seems like despite all that went down, there are bonuses going out, and it's not so much that people have an issue with bonuses going out, but to who they are going out is the main controversy. But let's get into it. So the CEOs and other board members at CD Projekt are set to receive big multi-million-dollar bonuses this year, despite the difficult problem-filled launch of Cyberpunk 2077. CD Projekt co-CEOs Martin Iwinski and Adam Kaczynski are both set to get an end-of-year bonus of 24 million zloty or something like that, which is apparently 6.3 million US dollars, according to the company's annual report. Meanwhile, CD Projekt board member and director of Cyberpunk 2077, Adam Badowski, is said to be awarded 4.2 million in bonuses. As explained in the new Bloomberg report, these bonuses come via CD Projekt profit share system, in which 20% of the company's annual earnings are split up and awarded to staff members. 10% of the profit is shared amongst the board of directors, while the other 10% goes to employees. In a statement to Bloomberg, CD Projekt explained that 865 employees were part of this profit share system, with 29.8 million shared among them. Meanwhile, 5 board members will share 28 million, so almost the same amount, but split between 5 people as opposed to all those CD Projekt Red employees. Talking to Bloomberg, some employees revealed that they're expected to receive between $5,000 and $9,000 in bonuses. More senior staff can get closer to $20,000. So I think the very obvious issue with all this is the fact that the people set to receive some of the biggest bonuses are the people who are almost whole-handedly responsible for the state of Cyberpunk launching it the way it is. And there's almost kind of like a good faith thing that we've seen in other companies when there's a major botched mess up, that some of the higher ups will actually take massive pay cuts to ensure that the company has the resources it needs to dedicate to delivering a proper project, either fixing the existing one or launching a much better one in a shorter time period. But it seems like they're really holding to what I would imagine was probably the original plan, no matter what, because it's probably inked into contract that's no matter what, these are the percentages and this is where everybody gets, and this is what they earn, because from what I understand, despite Cyberpunk's issues, they grossed an immense amount of money to it, and they didn't have to refund even a percentage of it. So that's my main issue, is that I don't know how somebody in good faith could accept that amount of money, considering the fact that not only are they responsible for pushing the timeline that it had, but on top of that, they were not receiving the brunt of the criticism from the games media and the populace at large. Unfortunately, a lot of it's towards the developers who get a lot of hits. So not only are they developing what they can in the timeline they can, they did their best job, and they're doing something very ambitious in the timeline that just doesn't work, that the higher ups forced to happen. Then on top of that, they get these rather small bonuses from $5,000, $9,000 in comparison to some of the higher-ups. Then on top of that, they receive all the criticism from the fan base, because the fan base, for some reason, doesn't direct it towards the people who should be, because these are kind of like nameless, faceless corporations. These are just execs that exist in some boardroom in some country somewhere. So it's really, really unfortunate from that regard. It's just that I would love to see the employees take this money home, and then whatever money doesn't go straight to them, they should get bigger bonuses. And once their bonuses are bigger, whatever money is left over should be 100% going in, back reinvested into the company to ensure that they're able to keep up with all the promises that they made to the buyers. That's just my opinion. What do you think?
No, yeah, I mean, I think you said it completely correct, and I agree 100%. The biggest, these are these names that we don't know, we don't see until stuff starts hitting the fan, and they're bringing, $1 million bonuses. And the people who are sitting there doing the work, remember all the overtime and forced overtime and the long work days and work weeks and stuff. Those are the guys who, and they try to soften the blow by saying, "Oh, don't worry, they're going to get compensated, the big bonuses and stuff like that." but then the game is, all that hard work was for naught because the game came out, in such a terrible state, and some people still can't play it, and the next gen versions are not out. We were hoping they would be out by this time. Now by the time they do come out, I don't even know if I want to go back in. So it's like, and I understand this is how company works. The people at top make the most money. Obviously, the managers I work for and life probably make way more money than I know make. Way more money than I do, but I work harder. And I get that there's a natural progression, but the big thing that you said, it's because of their fault. Those higher ups, the guys bringing the millions home, getting that $1 million bonuses. Those are the guys who forced this game to be out and really took a big hit to CD Projekt Red. It's something that now they're going to be always under that sort of microscope. It sucks that whatever the next project is that comes from them is gonna be looked at. I mean, like insane. Whether it be whatever it be, let's say it's Witcher 4. Well, Witcher 4 is gonna be put under a microscope like crazy. People aren't gonna specifically buy it because they're gonna be like, "Oh, I'll wait until it's fixed." Blah blah blah, reviews and all that kind of nonsense. So it sucks that those employees, was 865 employees are the ones putting in the most work and putting in, losing the time with their families and all that kind of stuff, and they're not even going to be compensated the same way that these guys who, again, I don't know any of these guys personally or whatever, and stuff like that, but, these are the guys who were on probably vacations half the time and, going all over the country and things like that. It does suck. It is a controversy. It's also just the way some companies are set up, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and I think one thing a lot of people don't necessarily consider is the fact that these people work in this industry. They have to put this on their resume. And so they have this attachment that I'm not sure, because I don't work in the game industry, but I would imagine to some people is a little bit stigmatized. Like, oh, you worked on Cyberpunk? And the immense talent that they have at CD Projekt Red, that they put all that time and resources into this project, for it to basically be like, no, we got to launch now. And then, newsflash, people who work in this industry don't make a lot of money. The average developer is not like making insane bank. They basically make enough money to survive in the respective area that they live in, but not much beyond that. And then on top of that, for $5,000, $9,000, this is attached to you now. And whether they'd admit it or not, going to future jobs or future projects, that's going to sit there, and that's not going to look the best to everybody else. And people who know will understand, like, oh, okay, that's not your fault. Like, we're not going to hold you accountable for that. We saw the tech that existed in there, but I know that's not going to be 100% across it. As someone who also, I don't work in the game industry, but I work in the tech industry, and I've seen how certain things can weigh against people. And so I just hope that they can ultimately extract as much as they deserve out of this in the end, and I hope that maybe the dialogue around this can help them change course. And I don't expect them to just rip this money out of these higher-ups' hands. First off, the people who own certain things are contractual things they're going to get paid. So if the contract says 5%, they're getting their 5%, period. Whether the thing bombs or not, 5% of whatever was made is going to them. But I just hope that they can find a way to compensate these people a little bit more properly based on what they had to go through, not just about hours worked and about technologies implemented, but about the real abuse that these developers had to face to no fault of their own. And I think with what time they were given and the project they were assigned, they did as good as they could. But unfortunately, the support that they needed wasn't given to them, and those people need to be held responsible, not awarded ridiculous amounts of money. But I mean, lo and behold, that's kind of capitalism for you, is just awarding those who do the least work and just own the means of production. They own this company, and ownership, unfortunately, leads to just mass amounts of money, despite the fact that you have very little part of the labor. So it's unfortunate, and I just want them to be able to turn this around so much, because I think CD Projekt Red is so talented. And I think you and I were one of, I wouldn't say the few, but almost it seems like the minority at this point, that were actually able to experience Cyberpunk front to back. It wasn't the easiest experience at times with all the crashes, but we saw it. And we saw that there is a spirit to something very great there. And I just hope that one day they can fully realize that, And I just hope that it's not too late when they finally do. That's kind of my summary of that.
No, it's the same with me. I really do hope that whenever the next gen version does come out, it's hopefully not, it's not the week before Call of Duty comes out or whatever, just so that it can get a second breath of life. Because it does. I would like to go back and play this game a little bit, way smoother and with better frame rates and all that kind of stuff. But
Judy is waiting for me.
Yeah, exactly. Try out the different storylines and all these other things that I missed because it was. I mean, we both admitted it when we talked to Cyberpunk. It was almost a chore sometimes to really play that game.
Definitely.
All right. So, best of luck to that, and hopefully we start getting some better news on CD Projekt Red. It's like we'll get one good news, and then it's just darkness from them.
5 stories of just terrible.
Yeah. So, and I actually forgot about this happened before you put it actually in the news story. So our next story, PlayStation had a state of play on April 29th, a couple of days ago. A weird one because it wasn't really anything to... I don't know. The state of plays, I guess I just always think it's going to be at least 5-6 games that we don't know of. But we just had 3 quick announcements. Well, 2 of them were quick. One was half an hour of gameplay almost. Yeah. So Subnautica Below Zero was shown at the state of play. I have not played Subnautica still, the original one. I guess this is a sequel, right? It's not like a repackaging.
No, there's a sequel.
So yeah, sequel. So I don't have much to say about the Subnautica because again, I have not played it. I think I own it somewhere. I have it. Any thoughts on the Subnautica?
I have played Subnautica. It's been quite a while since I have. It was fine. I thought it was pretty good. I don't really have strong feelings about this one either. This is not a series that I was just like, oh, this definitely needs a sequel. I'm really happy for the team. It looks pretty good, but it's not something I'm necessarily rushing to. And I'm surprised they of the 3 things they announced at the state of play, this was a little surprising in context once you kind of like see the whole thing. You finish the conference, it's like, okay, 3 games. One of which is the biggest kind of viral game right now. One of them is the biggest first-party IP, and then Subnautica. It's kind of a weird way to kick off your state of play. No offense to them at all. I mean, no offense to this, but it's just like, I was watching, I'm like, okay, like, yeah, all right, like, I guess there's someone out there this is for, but no, not for me.
Okay, yeah. I mean, good for those fans who are out there. There it is. More Subnautica. Maybe one day we'll get into it, but doubt it. Among Us will be coming to PlayStation 4 and 5. We kind of knew this. It was more kind of a when than if. And it's just more Among Us. Obviously, going to be the newest patched version with the airship level. I haven't played that yet. They're adding a Ratchet and Clank outfit to it. Coming to PlayStation 4 and 5, which is good because especially since the 5 hasn't hit that crowd yet. I'm surprised it's so late. I mean, this is not anything new for consoles to get the games really late. I just don't know. I mean, I haven't played Among Us since like Halloween, so
oh wow.
Yeah, so it's been a while. I just also don't have a lot of people to play with, so I don't really jump into the open, the open sources to just freaking talk in the little chat thing. It's really something. It's rare when I can get like at least a few people to play with it, and actually like play in a group and stuff like that. But it's there. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. It'll probably be whatever it is, the $4.99. I'm trying to think whatever it is on Switch and Xbox and stuff like that. So of course, PlayStation being just a little bit behind on there. But yeah, Among Us will be there for other people. I have it on PC, so if I want to play it out, that's where I'll go. I don't know if the Ratchet ears and the Clank outfit will be enough for me to purchase it, but it's there. Are you going to be rebuying Among Us?
No, I as you said, I already have it on PC. I have it on my phone, and I also have it on Switch when it came to Switch because I felt like if I want to play it with like proper tactile buttons, that's going to be my preferred format to play Among Us for me personally. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had no clue that it wasn't on PlayStation already. I just assumed that it was. So when they announced it, I was like, "What?" And then I thought about it. I was like, "Oh, I guess so." Yeah, I had no clue it wasn't even on PlayStation yet. But yeah, this is cool. The more places they can get it, I'm always happy when I hear Among Us news, even if I don't care about the story, because I don't care about this new Rift Apart skin that they have. And I played it maybe a month and a half ago or something like that for the airship level, and it was pretty cool. I'm just super happy for Inner Sloth. I don't really care about the story themselves.
Exactly.
I'm just so happy for such a small team to be able to see this level of success, and just be able to maintain it. I mean, there was kind of like 3 games that they came up with, one of which didn't peter off. It's just a fundamentally different game, which was obviously Hades. It's not one of those kind of persistent always games that get like new drops and stuff like that. So I understand why that would take like more of a life cycle of just a regular video game. And then it was kind of like Fall Guys and Among Us. And Fall Guys, they're still trooping along, but they don't have obviously that level of exposure and the highlight that they had when they first launched that summer. And so, but Among Us is still going real strong and way stronger than I expected any team or a game like this to go. Shout out to all the Twitch streamers who were able to, keep this life going. Same thing with the YouTubers and stuff like that. So yeah, really impressed with what they were able to do. But besides that, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to play it on there, but I know a lot of people will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Inner Sloth now has like their foot in the door with the big 3 and obviously their PC. Just because whatever game they come with next, once they're done with Among Us or whatever it may be, they can hopefully all launch it at once and then have this bigger community and stuff. Because there's people who just won't play it because it's not on PC. There's people who didn't play it till it was on Switch, till on Xbox. Now there's people who won't play it till it's on PlayStation 5 and 4. So I'm glad they kind of have that connection now a little bit, because whatever the next game is, we'll hopefully be able to just get quicker. Wildfire.
Yeah, and if there's like decent crossplay and everything like that, I can see it being available everywhere, to boosting their player pool to probably like that summer level. I could see that.
Yeah, exactly. So, who knows? These games are always weird. I mean, this game was 2018, then it revived, and it's gotten slightly quiet, still pretty popular. But yeah, like you're saying, maybe this summer again, it just explodes again. You never know.
Very possible.
Yep. All right, then to end the state of play, Sony decided to give us, 25 minutes or something of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Now, I jumped in and out of the while it was the live stream, then I went back and watched the trailer, just bits and pieces here and there, because I'm gonna buy this game regardless. I didn't need to see another 20 minutes of it. I didn't need to see any more of this. So I did not watch too much, because I do want the game to be like this brand new adventure to me. But it's cool that I like playing as the female Lombax, Rivet, which is funny. That's one of the things I guessed. I wish I would have physically was able to say it somewhere, because I guessed her name was going to be Rivet.
Did you?
I did.
Funny.
I think I told my wife one time, and she's like, "Oh, what's that one's name?" And I was like, "Well, it's got to be like a tool or like something, like, because Ratchet's Ratchet." I'm like, it's probably like Rivet or something, where it's like sort of a feminine name. It is what it is. I'm not the only one who guessed that, but it's cool. We have an official name. We see her works with Clank, and the slight difference of the gameplay between. I saw a little bit of the UI and the options and the tools and the weapons and stuff like that. I mean, the game looks buttery smooth. It looks so nice. The little rift pull thing where it almost switches levels and switches things at almost instant loading. It's gonna be pretty exciting to see all that in the flesh again. I didn't watch too much. I didn't watch too many of the enemies and stuff like that, because this is not a game I need to be sold on. I was sold on from just the title, Rift. Just the day they announced it, I was like, I'm gonna buy this, obviously, especially when they double down on it being a true PS5 exclusive, which is what's great about it. So Ratchet and Clank, this summer it's gonna be great. I can't wait for it. Any more thoughts on the Ratchet and Clank?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really liking what I've seen. I was also completely sold on this. The reboot version that they dropped a couple years ago completely blew me away, and I was really, really impressed with what they were able to turn this around to. And to me, I know that was kind of a reduced budget game. It was only like a $40 game or something like that. To me, that was a proper first-party release as far as I was concerned. And this looks like they're up in the ante quite again. And to me, this is, as far as I'm concerned, on proper first-party Sony release territory with the rest of them. I'm really impressed with the way that they're using this kind of like instant load SSD tech to be able to like instantly render a new part of the world or a new world entirely. It's really impressive stuff that they're doing. Seeing all those ships move around and stuff like that, for some reason I was getting kind of like Coruscant, like Star Wars vibe. And I was like, man, this tech is so incredible, and I just love to be able to see the first party take advantage of it. And it was running super smooth. The gameplay looks phenomenal. And so, yeah, so far, I love everything I've seen. Rivet, really awesome character design. I'm really happy about it. You guys know me. I love like variants and different types of color characters. So I'm really excited to try out Rivet and see which part of the game I prefer and stuff like that. And I'm just excited to see the diversity of worlds, because from what they've shown off, everything looks so different, runs so well, and so I'm excited to see where the new places they take it, where are some of the old places. I'm not the most familiar with every single Ratchet and Clank game. I've played some of the really early ones, and now these, obviously the newest one. So I don't necessarily have all the knowledge about like when they're talking about like they're going to be revisiting older worlds that are like weird multiverse versions of them. I probably wouldn't pick up those references, but from what I'm seeing, I'm really, really liking it. Really, really happy, and just it's one of those things where it's almost kind of like the MCU with the trailers for the new shows, and it's like, man, they got another one. That's me with the PlayStation at this point, where I was like, they show off these things, and I'm like, man, you guys got another one. Good for you. Like their first party output is just so incredibly impressive right now, and everything seems like a hit as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I'm super sold on this. When is this? Is this June?
I want to say it's June. I actually have
it's like June 11th or 14th or something like that.
So it is very close.
Yeah, it's like a month and
luckily, yeah, and there's nothing around it either. I mean, I should be done with. It is. Sorry, my windows are all shrunk. June 11th. Yep, you're
June
right.
11th. All right, cool. Yeah, so yeah, I'm down. Excellent time for it to launch right before the like summer really kicks in to swing. So yeah, no, I'm super down.
Yeah, super exciting for that. I can't wait. And that was it for the State of Play. It was such a weird, short timed State of Play, but that's all they had for us.
Yeah, I never know what to expect with these. I watched this yesterday. I didn't even know what happened until a little bit later. I saw people started posting and you talking about it and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I need to go properly sit down and watch this, because I don't have access to like a TV and then all my setups and stuff like that. So I have been really detached from the news. And I was like, oh, did they announce anything? And it's like, no, it's really small. So it's like, I never know what these data plays are going to be. Like, I don't know if they're going to announce a freaking VR 2 or they're just going to have some freaking Subnautica. I have no clue. Yeah, so I guess we can move on to the next story. And this is a Jabrel story if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Yeah, PlayStation Home Trademark Renewal. But obviously my expectations are tempered, but we can get into that. So 6 years ago, PlayStation Home unfortunately shut down its servers, and it's now been discovered that Sony very recently renewed the trademark for the PlayStation Home service, handing the rights to the name till about 2028. So for anybody who pays attention to video gaming, you know that trademark renewals are very common practice. You don't want to let your trademark lapse, especially if it's IP that you very much own, maybe that you invested in at one point. It doesn't cost much to renew a trademark, and so a trademark renewal is not at all a sign that they intend on doing something with this in the time. It's just they don't want it to go into the public space for somebody else to buy up the trademark. Pretty much. So it doesn't mean that it's a 0% chance, but this doesn't necessarily make it any more likely. We've seen trademark renewals years ago for, 2 decades now of things that never saw the light of day. So it's not necessarily indicative of a PlayStation Home renewal. If you understood the economics behind PlayStation Home, you'd understand why it's probably not coming back. It's a giant advertisement tool, and they have since found more effective ways to be able to sell their games, and the game industry has changed tremendously, and Sony is not the same Sony that it was during the PlayStation 3 years. So the likelihood of a PlayStation Home actually properly returning supported by Sony is near 0% as far as I'm concerned. But I am very excited to see just PlayStation Home in the public consciousness again. Not too long ago, IGN released a video about people trying to archive and save PlayStation Home the data so they can run it on their own servers. It was a really, really awesome thing that they put together. I'll try to link that down below for anybody who's interested, because I loved PlayStation Home back in the day, so I've always been fascinated by the idea of being able to go back, and that's not really an option that exists right now. And so it being properly supported again on PlayStation 5 would be a dream come true, but it's just, there's no way. It would make 0 sense for Sony to do that right now. They'd essentially just be burning money for no reason. But what did you think when you heard this story?
Yeah, so it was interesting because again, I'm in the same boat where I'm like, well, just trademark's just a trademark. But then I started looking into it and watching a couple people break it down. Even if they didn't trademark specifically PlayStation Home, if they would have let this lapse, PlayStation itself is a trademark, so you wouldn't be able to go create something called PlayStation Home,
great point.
even though PlayStation didn't have that trademark. So they specifically went out of their way to trademark. They could have also went the cheaper route and just patented it. Because they patent unused ideas all the time, just for safekeeping and ideas and stuff like that.
Interesting.
There is some underlying things that it's weird that they went this extra step specifically.
Fair enough. Okay.
So there's some hope. I don't want to give you too much hope, because again, I dabbled in PlayStation Home when it was on PS3. When I first bought my PS3, it's one of the first things I downloaded. And I do remember you and I actually were maybe just becoming friends actually when PlayStation Home was getting shut down.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it was a sucky time. There are some people who have thoughts, not really rumors, but thoughts that it may be being brought back also to sort of help PlayStation VR. With the way VR chat is doing on like PC, it'd be an interesting way to have that as a free app for PlayStation VR 2 or compatible with the regular PlayStation VR. Sort of having this social space. I don't know if it'd ever be to the extent we had. We had apartments and arcade machines that would launch. I remember being in my apartment in PlayStation Home, going to my Tekken 6 machine that would launch Tekken 6 on my PlayStation. Will it ever be that integrated? I'm not sure, but I think there's something coming back as PlayStation Home. I just don't know if it'll be this full Second Life Sims style, but it would be interesting to see it back on. I kind of have hope because it's a specifically long time to hold the trademark. It's 6 years after you shut down the services, and now you're doing that specific trademark and things like that. Again, we could all be just looking a little too hopeful, but I saw some breakdowns on like way more easier things Sony could have done to just hold that name if they just didn't want anyone else to use it. They own PlayStation, so that already would have eliminated the option of someone making a game called PlayStation Home. So there's some hope. I don't want to get too wild with it, but there is some hope.
Those are all really great points that I hadn't even considered. So yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more and keep my eye on it. Funnily enough, when I think about the spirit of PlayStation Home, it to me, as someone who spent a tremendous amount of time, like I'm talking probably hundreds of hours in PlayStation Home over the years that it existed. The thing to me in the PlayStation ecosystem that captures that spirit the most is surprisingly Astrobot. When I was playing the new one and seeing these consoles and just all these PlayStation references, and you're in this open area and there's little robots running around, there was something about that I was looking, I was like, there's something here, this kind of grand celebration of PlayStation in this open space that I'm like, if in 2021 a PlayStation Home somehow manifested again and they're somehow able to, it'd probably be smaller in scale most likely. I feel like the Astrobot integration, not in the game or something like that, but that kind of celebration would be the most likely way to kind of launch it. And I think tying it to VR makes all the sense in the world. I think having kind of a traditional I create an avatar, I run around is a very 2007 to 2012 concept that I think the industry has moved way past. And if you want to screw around with your friends, Fortnite has many options. There's many options out there for you. But I think, something closer to VR chat.
Yeah.
VR chat means Astrobot, and you walk around these worlds, and you got a PlayStation 4 room and a PlayStation 2 room, and there's Horizon, and there's God of War Ragnarok, and stuff like that. I can 100% see, but you need to make this service to be able to sell something, because that's what PlayStation Home is. It's just one giant ad if you really think about it. And at the time, they were trying to sell us on these various new games and these services that PlayStation 3 was trying to add, because keep in mind, to jump from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, there's giant media offerings in PlayStation 3 that had never been offered before. So they were showing this machine as a giant media hub. That's very standard nowadays. So what PlayStation 5 can offer is stuff like that VR integration, that haptic feedback in the controller, unique experiences that they need to sell people on. And so it's going to look different, but you raised a lot of great points with here that I know you didn't want to give me too much hope and false hope, but congratulations, you did. So thanks for that.
Yeah, so it's we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens, and hopefully, PlayStation Home. There was an artifact in Astrobot's Playroom.
Yeah,
that was the PlayStation Home symbol.
They're teasing me.
Mm.
Bring it back.
All right. So that was your story. Obviously, we have one a little dictated to me. Resident Evil 8 multiplayer. Something we don't. I don't know. It's weird. So the Resident Evil 8, the Resident Evil Village multiplayer has been delayed. So we've known about the Resident Evil Reverse, which is the deathmatch multiplayer spin-off that was going to be released alongside Village. They've quietly removed the dating on the website, so now, and then they came out with a small statement, which won't release with Resident Evil Village as originally planned. Instead, it'll release at some time unspecific during the summer. Like they said, it won't affect the core release game because obviously it's way more of an add-on thing. But I don't know. This is where it's weird. Obviously, if they did still reiterate that if you bought Resident Evil Village, you will get Reverse for free, which means I guess they're gonna sell Reverse separately. Because I thought this was the only way to get Reverse, was gonna be part of 8. As much as I'm as a huge Resident Evil fan, Capcom fan, everything like this, I could not care less than this. I saw some of the gameplay. I got an email to jump into this through the ambassador system, but I just didn't care. It's so weird that that Resident Evil Village didn't need a multiplayer aspect. And then when they do have it, it looks like this. It looks so weird, cheaply. I don't know if you've seen footage. It's like it's not like they did their own style. It's like they took the RE engine and then just kind of put like a weird filter cell shade over it. It's all these weird bold lines and stuff. So it looks really weird. I just keep thinking back to last year when I played the Resident Evil 3s. I don't remember what they called it. Resistance? Was it Resistance? Whatever they called the multiplayer that released for Resident Evil 3 remake.
Something like that,
I think it was Resistance. I played it once and was immediately like, this is definitely not a full-fleshed idea. It's kind of just thrown together just to sort of hit this asymmetrical gameplay. Now they're doing the, RE-verse, which is sort of a Smash Brothers shoot 'em up of the Resident Evil characters, which on paper sounds like an okay idea, but just doesn't really make sense. Resident Evil in multiplayer itself is just such a weird subject. Instead of like putting that extra like push for like a complete co-op Resident Evil, they always do these sort of weird, just sort of off-shot, thrown together cheap cash-ins, which makes me think of another time. I mean, Resident Evil 7 had no multiplayer, and that was a great value. Resident Evil Village looks like it's going to be that same sort of strike. I understood why they bundled the Resistance with RE3, shorter game, all that kind of stuff, but I don't think once I beat Resident Evil Village, I don't think I'll be like, man, I wish there was more. I wish there was something I could come to every night to play RE Reverse, to play as Leon, to fight Ethan, to shoot him out. I don't know. It's weird stuff. It's not anything that's, like I said, I was just like, okay, it is what it is. Maybe I'll never have to play it now, because if it was there at launch, I probably would have jumped in just to jump in. Maybe now that I just not. By the time that comes out, I'll probably be done with Village. So that's all I have. Is this? I mean, I know the answer to this question, but are you broken up about this? Are you?
Come on, man.
Are you gonna miss the multiplayer?
Come on, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, Reverse can kick rocks. Like, I don't care about this game whatsoever. I have seen some gameplay of it, and I'm like, it just gag emoji. Like, I don't know why they always try to tack on these trash little mini games for it. I don't know what it is. And the funny thing is, RE7 had all these little DLCs that had these like mini games you can play, and those are actually those were actually really cool. And so that makes all the sense in the world. And then it was something, with this RE3 little tacked on game that I thought was terrible. And so this one to me looks like they're another attempt to do that. But the problem is they're not dedicated to it. Like, they make this incredible game that they tie it to, and then they have these games that they try to boost with the launch of the other one, and there's these half-baked ideas that you could tell kind of like, oh, this is something we're thinking about. And it's like, it's an awesome idea, it's a cool little prototype, but this is not like for main release or anything like that. So no, I don't care. And when I heard about this story, the first thing I ran to was like, okay, is this gonna affect the core game? No, it's not. All right, then kick rocks. Like, I don't care. Delay it forever. Like, keep it.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing. It's weird because they want this multiplayer thing to work for RE, because they keep trying for Resident Evil, and I'm like, why don't they do some sort of horde mode where you're co-oping with people with waves of enemies? I think that's just an easier design option. this weird deathmatch thing just doesn't work. That's not what it is. Leon's gonna be dying, and then what? I hit square to reload. I just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Personally, I have a vision in my head, and I don't know if this exists somewhere out there, but I look at kind of like a Hades Binding of Isaac type game for Resident Evil. That's basically like survival. You try to make it as far as possible. You try to find gear, and you get more and more powerful, and you kind of navigate this expansive facility that as you get deeper and deeper, you encounter scarier and scarier type of monsters, and you can have people from all the different Resident Evil games over time as you get deeper, maybe climaxing with some of the larger enemies towards the end of it. That's kind of my vision for what a multiplayer Resident Evil game can look like, and maybe you can even do that co-op with 2 people, and you could choose whatever duo you want, if it's from RE6 or 5 or whatever. I think that would be really, really cool. And so you can pay homage to all the previous games. It's multiplayer. It's a gameplay style that people already like. They keep trying to push these gameplay styles. It's like nobody's trying to play that crap. But that's just my idea. But I mean, hey, they're free to take it. If anybody somehow on the Resident Evil teams are listening to, hey, take my idea. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we can pull into the last story to kind of climax the show here or cap it off. Konami pulls out of E3. So Konami has claimed the mantle of the first game publisher to pull out of E3 2021, formally announcing its decision on Twitter. And I'm going to read the statement here. So due to the timing, we will not be ready to present at E3 this year. We want to reassure our fans that we are in deep development of a number of key projects. So please stay tuned for some updates in the coming months. While we're not participating this year, we have great respect for the ESA and know that 2021 will be a great success. We will continue to support the ESA and wish all the participants at this year's show. Or wish the best for all the participants at this year's show. So in a statement to GameSpot, the ESA representative said the following: we support our partner Konami decisions to not participate in E3 this year and are excited to see what they'll be announcing in the future when they're ready to do so. We can't wait for their return in E3 2022, but in the meantime, we look forward to sharing all the highly anticipated reveals, programming, and so much more at this year's E3. So it seems like everything's amicable and nice, but classic story, Konami's not ready. But for me, then my main response to this is like, that's all good and fine. What the hell were they planning on announcing? Anyways, let's say they do. Like, what are they working on? Konami, I have no clue. My fingers crossed. Yeah, I'm always waiting for a new Castlevania. I ain't gonna lie to you. But what did you think about this?
So this was weird. So we announced that E3 was coming back, and we talked about that and stuff like that. I don't ever even remember if Konami was in that discussion. I guess they were at some point. I don't remember I don't remember realizing that Konami said they would or wouldn't be at E3 23, so 2021, 2023. So it is interesting. I did the same thing. I said, oh, that's cool. What are you guys working on that you were going to announce at E3? You're not going to announce a pachinko machine or a new workout spa at E3. So I'm like, wait, you have something to show? You have something to discuss? Because their last couple little, crapped out games, which was what was it, Contra Rogue or something like that, was them, I think.
Yeah, they had the Contra. Whatever. They had all those collections too. Yeah,
those are never at these conferences. No. So it's like, well, those are usually just trailers, and then the game comes out, and either people like them or don't like them. So when the fact that they went out with make the statement, made the whole little artwork and everything, and they're like, we have a number of key projects in development. I'm like, what are you guys working on? Of course. I'd love to also see another Castlevania or whatever it is, a reboot, whatever they got working. They own the Metal Gear license. We don't know what they're doing with the Metal Gear license.
God, leave it alone, please.
I would, say leave that alone. Silent Hill, something that's been juggled around for so long. We all remember PT, and we're not going to go back down that road, but there was rumors for a long time that there's multiple Silent Hill projects in the work, and so it's like, okay, I said, you know what? Take your time, and when you're ready to announce something, make it good and hopefully something worth announcing. Because the fact that you're going to even go through this process of, pulling out of E3 2021, and next year you're going to show me some mobile game? Don't do that. I don't want to see any iPhone, Android logos next year at E3 2022. I don't want to see any logos of Android and some weird gotcha game and match 3 color Metal Gear Solid nonsense. So it better be a full-fledged title that you're working on.
It's one of those. They're in such a weird place with so many of their franchises, and they just left it. In, they've had this kind of back and forth approach where it's like their actions say that they're done with gaming. Okay, they're a
Mm.
massive company in Japan. They have their feet in many different industries, so they're not relying on gaming at all. And so eventually it gets to a point where it's more controversy than it's worth for them. If anything, it just brings bad headlines and whatever. But then there's other times where it seems like, no, they're doubling down. We're making games. It's just nothing. And it's just, correct me if I'm wrong, their last major, like large scale offering was Metal Gear Survive, right? I don't recall anything large coming
I
from
would,
them.
I believe that's their last quote unquote triple.
Yeah,
A
like
release.
AAA release. And I mean, what a terrible way to leave off such a beloved franchise. Just such a botched way right after Metal Gear Solid 5, which is, I mean, an immaculately made game. That was botched in certain ways, but they did the best they could. Or, Kojima did what he could. But it's one of those things where it's like I don't know what to expect from any of these franchises. I think Silent Hill is probably the safest bet of what is certainly on the horizon coming out of Konami. If I was them, I think there is an opportunity for them to make a good conference depending on what they're working on. I just don't know what's in their pipeline. So, like, obviously, if their main offering is like a properly big scale Silent Hill, maybe PT esque, bringing back that spirit because they own that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Game, that would be awesome if that was their main offering. Maybe a Castlevania 16-bit collection if they're not ready to launch a brand new Castlevania game. It would be awesome if they're like, hey, we're gonna have like Symphony of the Night and all the Game Boy Advance and DS games in one collection.
Yeah.
And at a farther date, we don't have much to announce, but then maybe just a splash screen of Castlevania something something. From the people, I mean, how awesome would it be like for the people who brought you Symphony of the Night and they're working with the Bloodstained team again? How awesome would that be?
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is like unrealistic, or maybe on the background. I wouldn't be surprised if they're partnering with somebody to possibly remake the original Metal Gear again. And I know people are like, no, they already did it with Twin Snakes and stuff like that. That it's been a very long time, and that is an overwhelmingly inaccessible game on the GameCube. Like no one has access to that game. It's not easy to find. It's very expensive.
Yep.
It hasn't been re-released on anything, I don't think. So a proper remake, I don't think, is that unrealistic, even though it's technically been done already. I think that's the safest bet for them. Is Metal Gear Solid 6 is without Kojima is very risky, but they own the IP, and I think Konami, if anything, has seen success with just sticking to what they made while they were good. And I know that sounds messed up, but re-releasing things that we already played back when we liked them is a good bet, because I mean they did these collections, everybody liked them. I think they did a phenomenal job with this Castlevania collection, so I was really happy with it. So if they stick in line with that and just release their old arcade games and they release their immense catalog that they have, they've only tapped into really like the 80s and early 90s stuff at this point. So if they go beyond that, I think there's lots of stuff for them to re-release, remake, and then try their hand at. As long as they partner with people, I think they should partner, because they're obviously not committed to giving full resources to proper AAA development anymore. That I think that's fairly obvious. So as long as they're willing to partner with people and people are willing to work with them, and I know the whole F Konami thing is happened. I don't know how pervasive that is within the industry. I don't know how people feel and how loyal they are to Kojima. I have no clue. How like the average developer, like if you pull some team, it's like, hey, would you like to work with us, Konami? I don't know if the average person's like so loyal to Kojima that they're like never work with Konami again. I don't know about that. I don't know, but yeah, I'm just curious to know what slipped to the point that they're like, okay, we can't go do E3 this year. I would imagine it's Silent Hill, but because that's the only thing we know, but. I'm curious to hear from them, because Konami is such a weird company at this point, and I don't even know what they are in the game industry anymore. I don't know if they're in, or they're just kind of finding ways to monetize when they were in, and they're just re-releasing old stuff, or are they committed to brand new experiences? No clue. Your guess is as good as mine, pretty much.
Yeah, it's the same. It's such interesting. I mean, you wrapped it up pretty great about what we would like to see. I'm looking at this older. On their website, they have a list of games they released besides like the Pro Evolution Soccer, the PES games.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was.
It's been.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's them. So from after Metal Gear Survive, that's all it is. It's like some soccer, some iOS, Yu-Gi-Oh card games, Contra, and then that's it. More PES 2021. So Metal Gear Survive it's been a while since that. So whatever they've been working on.
That was what, like 2016 or something like that.
2017, 18, something like that.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, they have no date on here. Oh yeah, they do. Sorry, February 2018 is when this released. So.
Survive was 2018.
Survive was 2018.
Oh wow, I thought that was way longer ago. Okay,
so
less credit to them.
Yeah,
because I was like, I was a little bit older. No, that was recent. You guys are trash. What are you doing?
Oh yeah, and then it's just again, iOS Yu-Gi-Oh games, Frogger on iOS, Contra Rogue Corps, and then just tons of versions of PES. So
and Castlevania games on iOS that they won't frickin' release in the US. Drives me nuts.
So it's I mean, I'd like to see a comeback from them, like the same way, like we said, Capcom did this Resurrection. I'd love to see Konami go that aspect as well.
Yeah, if I was them, I'd be like, listen, I know we had a bad run with you guys. I'd drop as much money and be like, yo, bring Bloodstain here. And how would you like to be able to use some of our characters? No problem. We'll fund it. You can make a proper Castlevania game and bring your Miriam from Bloodstain and do all your thing. Bring it over here. It's just, it would never happen because he freaking hates them. But
yeah,
he really does. Like Koji Igarashi, like he freaking hates Konami. So I would see that again. That would be kind of like them going up to Kojima and being like, hey, sorry,
you want to make Metal Gear for us?
Sorry about that. You want to make it? He'd be like, if you don't get out of my face with this, like, I got my own thing now and it's good and people like it and everybody hates you, so screw it. So yeah, and unfortunately, I've always had this opinion with Konami that's like, if you're not gonna make it, fine, give it to someone who will. I hate when these companies are not dedicated to making something, they're not gonna re-release something, and they just hold it. And for now, they're just holding Castlevania, and it's driving me nuts because they're just burning time right now. The Castlevania show is one of the best animated properties I've seen in years, and it's coming up on its last season right now. And in that time, they've released 0 notable Castlevania games. With it back in the public consciousness, keep in mind, before the Netflix show, we got the Lords of Shadow era, which I know some people like, but like Castlevania was not in the public consciousness whatsoever. And it hadn't been really popping probably since early. I mean, the DS games, they had their fans. The Game Boy games, they had their fans. But I mean, Symphony of the Night really was like the last time it was really, really killing it. And people were talking about it. And so for the fact that like Castlevania means something in 2021 right now, and people are like, oh man, yeah, that show's awesome. I love that show. I'm excited for the last season. And Konami's not doing anything to catch in on that is just nuts to me. Like, why they haven't gone out of their way to bring specifically the PS2 game and the 16-bit games that these shows are based on to modern consoles is just nuts to me. It's so little effort on their part. Like, and these are not, you can't be like, oh, well, the PS3 games don't work well. No. These are PS2 games, runs on everything. These are PlayStation 1 games, 16-bit era games that run on everything. They've already been ported to Xbox 360. Bring them over. Get Castlevania collection for fans of the show. Wouldn't you want to see where it started? Like, this is common sense stuff that it just frustrates me about Konami because literally any other company would have been released that. But they're like, yeah, we're gonna give you the NES stuff. We're gonna give you a little bit of stuff after that, and then that's it. And it's like, come on, guys, like, come on. But fingers crossed. They have to have something, and if they were gonna have a presence at E3, that tells me they were gonna have more than one game. And
I think so too.
And I don't see them developing a ton of like new IP, so it has to be from some of the IP that they are known for. So Castlevania has to be in there somewhere. Silent Hill has to be in there somewhere. And I would imagine they're not. There's no way they're going to just let Metal Gear just live. Like, that's one of the biggest franchises in the world. They own it. Kojima can't touch it. They're going to do something with it one day. It's just a matter of doing it right, which I don't necessarily think they're going to pull off, but I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, full show today, and we'll have more stories for you, I'm sure, in the coming weeks. Things are really getting to full swing. This Friday was Returnal. Next Friday or this upcoming Friday is Resident Evil 8, and then I believe the Friday right after that is Mass Effect. So
yeah, all these games we can't play at once. So
yeah, literally, tell me about it. And I'm just hoping, and guys, pray for me to whoever you pray to. Please, I'm hoping I have my PS5 by next Friday. I'm hoping to get it today, but if I'm really hoping, because I want to be able to get hit it before Resident Evil comes, but definitely I want to hit it before Mass Effect hits. I want to play Mass Effect so bad. So hope for me, guys. Fingers crossed.
Here's to you getting your consoles.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Along all your other stuff that's missing.
I need my Xbox so we can play freaking Outriders together. Get some social.
Yeah, right. We can be in person the closest way.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the show for you guys. This is the NeoVintage podcast. I am Jabril and I am with
Steve. Hope you guys enjoyed.
And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.